Hi, welcome to Trading Without Fear. In this episode, it's a recap of the $130 challenge the week from the 14th through the 18th. And so I'm just going to go over some of the trades that I did. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So one of the trades was a FINB. The thought process on this one is was a breakout pattern. It had a nice clean breakout over the $9 range. I ended up buying it right here on this big green day right here. And I ended up buying it at 901. And I was looking to scale out of the trade, taking about 15% and then another 30% after that. And I ended up cutting a little bit early. It just kind of wasn't really going much of anywhere. I've been having a hard time with patience on some of these swing trades. I'm really waiting for them to work. So the day after I cut it, ended up going up and would have got me stopped out for my 15% price target. And if it would have done that, even if it would have came back down and got me out of my risk down here on this day, I still would have been able to get out of the trade with a profit. It wouldn't have been big, maybe like $10 or so, but still would have been a profit. But here, I cut it at $9.17, which still was a small profit of $2.56, so nothing really major. I got into another trade, APRE, and this was a kind of a trading error. So on MVIS that I was trading the week before, I had a failed breakout. Instead of cut my losses quickly, I ended up taking a pretty big loss for the size of the account of $24 and some change. It was $24.43 overall on that day. So pretty decent sized loss, about 14.49%. With ARPE, it was a trade pretty much a little while after that one. What I was trying to do was chase the losses. I'm looking back at things, I realized that with FINB not working out and taking a big loss in MVIS, this trade was not really something I should have been trading at all. What I was looking to do is have a breakout, and if you look at the long-term chart here, I'll change this time frame to a 1 minute time frame. This way it's easier to see what I was trying to go for. So this is what I was seeing on that day, and what I was looking at down here was a long-term breakout over this range right here, and it had a breakout over like the 950 or the 750s. I was actually, the 750 mark right here. And so when it ramped up in the morning, I thought what it may do is kind of come down, retest this level. And, if this level right here was holding a support, I was willing to risk off that. So I ended up taking a buy at 699 and cut it at 650.05. So, it was again a pretty decent sized loss for the size of the account, 6.94%, which is something I'm not like really proud of on that. That right there is a trading error. My risk was originally around here, which was around 3.5%, which would have been fine. I was accepting about a 5% loss on that, but normally I try to keep my losses between 3 and 5%. And so when I got into this one with the 5% risk target, I ended up moving it down to below this candle just to, just to make sure that I was giving it some wiggle room in case it broke down this line, just in case it fell around this area right here. So once it did, it ended up getting me stopped out with my bracket orders. The trade didn't work, so that's okay. And this is probably one of the better trades I've taken in a while. So for those of you with keen eyes, you've probably noticed that my account is up to $216. That's about a 66% increase from the $130 challenge. So what I was doing here on ALF or ALF, this was a pretty crazy runner. It's a new IPO. I don't really know what's going on with it. It seems like they have some deal with some cars and Uber and Lyft in Florida. But I first got alerted onto it, and this big green day right here had 198 million shares traded, and tried to break through that day again. The following day, reached a new high, but didn't have enough continued momentum. Consolidated for a couple of days, and the first day it had a breakout over that range. I was thinking of $7 as the resistance level. I ended up taking a buy right here at 698, and with identifying of how choppy this stock was, um, in the past, of how it's really just inconsistent, goes up and down, up and down, up and down. What I was thinking was to give it a much wider risk, and so I ended up buying it right here, and so I gave it a risk down to here, which was about 10%. Well, I did give it a 10% risk, thinking that if it came down, what would end up happening is I'll just cut it. It wouldn't be a big deal, but I needed enough time for this chart to kind of work its way out. So on the same day, it ended up breaking through the breakout level and got the first half off of my sales right here. Was at 15% at the first sell range. This right here is the first buy. The first sell was at 15%. And then the next day, it kind of just chopped around, consolidated, and as long as it was staying above my original risk level, which once it actually broke out of this area, I did bring my risk up about to right here. I was risking about 4 cents a share. So if it did come down and it broke below this red candle that's right here, I would have gotten out of this trade around the 694 mark was where my risk was at. So it would probably be, let me see. I'd be risking 44 cents. So I'd end up making, I'd still be making some profits on that trade of just, probably about 10, 15, 20 bucks or something like that. So as long as it was staying within the OCO brackets or the bracket orders that I use, I was okay holding on to it, because the probabilities on a breakout chart, especially lately, they're not just running right up. They're usually having a day or two of consolidation, it looks like. So today is Tuesday the 22nd, and had a nice gap up in the morning. It looks like they had a news talking about some sort of 2 million share buyback program. So in the morning, my first my first sell target took 15%. My second sell target was a 30% profit, and I was looking for a sell around $9.08, so around here. So when I noticed it was kind of gapped up in the morning, instead of just quickly selling it into the pre-market for that 30%, I noticed that the chart has a history of kind of spiking up either in the first thing in the morning or having a small spike and then panic and then go again. So I ended up putting my sell target up to $10 even. So I sold the rest of these shares at $10, which was a 40% gain and a 43.37%. So that made $33.22 off of a total of like 11 shares. So the total profits on that trade for a very small account was $43.75. So that's not too bad at all. My total position size was only 21 shares, and making $43.75 on 21 shares is really good. So this morning I was a little bit tired. So even though this isn't last week's trade, this is today's trade. I'm pretty pleased with how I traded it. So I kind of recognize that it has the time of where it kind of dips in the morning. Kind of did the same thing here, kind of dipped in the morning, ramped back up, dipped again. And even on this day where it had a breakout, back here, it ramped up in the morning, pulled back, dipped, and ramped up again. So my thought process was it was possible that it may do the same thing today. And with having a baby, it's kind of tiring. So I kind of missed a really good entry right here. It had a nice run up, pulled back and consistently, and it just kind of made higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, squeezing back up to this blue line, which is VWAP. And the ideal time would be to buy around this area. Anywhere between these three candles would be the best time to buy. And the plan was, is if I was to trade that, because I was watching it, was to do the same thing, scale out at 15 and 30%. So from here to here, it's 25% gain. So you'd be looking at probably taking a profit around this area. And it would have been a half a day's trade. You'd be in and out, probably before 9 o'clock. About an hour's trade right there for a 30% gain isn't too bad. And then when it was kind of going up, it was chopping around, and I noticed it had this another higher low, and it was kind of squeezing its way up against this resistance line. And for whatever reason, I chose not to take it again. Don't really know why. No really good excuse on that one. And even on the 5-minute chart, you can kind of see how it's formed another ABCD pattern. So a nice big push, pull back, and squeezing itself back up to that resistance and support level. And so what I ended up doing was, instead of chasing it down this big push, I waited again, and it kind of ramped up, pulled back, tried to retest some highs, and it came back down. And I noticed that it was starting to do the same thing and pull back, slowly started uptrending again. And so I ended up buying it here, and my risk was just right below here. From where I bought it at 12.98, which was, let's just say 13 down here, I was risking about 5%. So 5% for the potential of making 30%, I think is not too bad. So I kind of just let it work. After I got into the trade, I had to go watch the baby, and so as long as it's in between my bracket orders, it can do whatever it wants to do. It's either going to get me stopped out for a small loss, or it's going to actually reach my sell target. So in this instance as well, it kind of went up, pulled back, and retested that kind of breakout level again. And later on the day, the last hours, when the volume came back in, and it got me 15% out here and another 30% out here. I sold it at 16.89. It did get as high as 17.39, but that's kind of outside of my area of where I normally would trade that. What I did do is right when I started noticing that it was still holding this level right before market close, I ended up switching my sell order from a bracket order to a good job canceled exit order. So thinking that it may try to push, at least a little bit right after market closes, and will get me stopped out. I did think that it may try to test 17, maybe just a little bit above 17, which it did on this instance right here. It could have kept on going, but this time it actually, for whatever reason, stopped in the mid-17s and pulled right back down. So this is that week. I had a total profit of $35.16, which isn't too bad. I'm up on the month, $99.93 so far. And again, this is starting from $130. So making $100 from $130 in a month, it's a challenge. And you can see that as the account starts to grow, my profits are also starting to get more consistent. So I've only had 2 trading errors so far on this month. But so far, every single week is green. So if you like this comment, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below to let me know how your trading is doing. If you want to go over, have me go over any technical analysis. And so that's pretty much it for this episode. We'll see you next time, and we'll see how this week from the 21st to the 25th goes. We'll see you later. Bye.